Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I wanted to touch on the tragic story of Austin Metcalf, a teenage student that was murdered at a track meet in Frisco, Texas last week. I know everybody is talking about the situation, but I wanted to weigh in as well. And I'm probably going to say a few things that are going to make at least some of you very, very uncomfortable. So you have to watch to the end to hear all of that. But before I do that, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I appreciate you so much for doing both of those things. So I think we are all aware by now that we have a very serious mental health crisis in this country. We have a violence crisis in this country. And I'd say we have a parenting crisis in this country, and we have an accountability crisis in this country. And all of these things, in my opinion, and what I think is supported by evidence, is that these crises can be linked to certain ideologies that have promoted violence and excused it and even encouraged it in a lot of cases, and have promoted at the same time a perpetual victim mentality. And overall, just pushed ideas onto people that excuse the worst behavior and have almost switched the roles between the criminal and the victim. The person who acted viciously towards someone else wouldn't have done so if the person they attacked hadn't said something that they didn't like. And therefore, the attacker is the victim, and the victim is now the problem. The idea has been normalized by people who adhere to certain belief systems and political identities that if you hear words that you don't want to hear or have minor conflicts with someone that you don't agree with, responding with physical assault, and even in this case, murdering someone, is an appropriate way to respond. And yes, I am putting this on the shoulders of the extremist left who have put their stupid ideas out there that give people the go-ahead to react in an extreme way, like telling them that words are violence, that white people are inherently oppressive, or that you're a victim if you have a certain skin color. And it's bad enough to see grown adults adhere to this absolute nonsense, but kids are increasingly acting in the same way because it's how the people that they look up to behave. So we can't be surprised when stuff like this happens on a more frequent basis because adults are even worse. So getting into the story of Austin, Metcalf was a high school student in Frisco, Texas, and he was attending a track meet that he and his identical twin brother were both competing in. And this event involved probably about a dozen different schools from the area. And according to his brother, this is how the incident played out. In this article, it says twin brother of Austin Metcalf, fatally stabbed Texas high school football star, claims they never met the suspect. It says the twin brother of the 17-year-old high school football star who was stabbed to death at a Texas track meet said the siblings didn't know the murder suspect, who lashed out violently within moments of a mere seating dispute. I never met this kid in my life, said Hunter Metcalf, adding he is still in shock over the killing of his twin brother, Austin. It really was under 30 seconds, this altercation, the heartbroken brother told local WFAA. Said Austin was allegedly stabbed by fellow 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony in the heat of a brief disagreement over seating. The twins from Frisco Memorial High School allegedly found Anthony sitting at their post under the team tent during the track meet. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless, Hunter recalled. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move," Hunter added. And he's like, "Make me move." All of a sudden, he grabbed his backpack, the brother said, and just seconds into the tussle, Hunter said Anthony pulled out a knife and stabbed his brother in the chest. Austin, who was born 2 minutes before Hunter, died in his brother's arms, despite first responders' attempts to resuscitate the teen. But we not only have information from news articles reporting on the situation, this was the police report of what happened as they were gathering witness testimony. So this is officially from people who saw this all play out, and it aligns with pretty much what Hunter was saying. So part of this police report says Anthony was from Centennial High School and was sitting under the Memorial High School tent. Austin had told Anthony that he needed to move out from under the team's tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and reached inside and proceeded to tell Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out what blank recalled as a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Austin began grabbing his chest and telling everyone to get help. Blank advised he did not know Anthony's name, but stated another Memorial track member student's name, was friends with Anthony and he could identify Anthony. Blank described Anthony as a black male, skinny and possibly a goatee, short puffy hair, and wearing Centennial High School clothing. This concluded my contact with blank. So yes, the kid was stabbed over a disagreement about who was sitting where. This is absolutely unimaginable. I mean, you have to wonder what was simmering beneath the surface of this kid, Carmelo Anthony, to react in such an extreme way to a minor conflict. Was he annoyed by being approached by these two kids? Probably, even though he was the one in the wrong area. Is it normal for teenage boys to get a little aggressive with each other sometimes, especially over really stupid things? Yeah, that's normal. I'm not going to pretend that I think that these two twin brothers approached this kid like a couple of woodland fairies and sprinkled glitter dust around him while sweetly asking him to leave. They probably handled it in the way that a couple of tough guy teenage boys would handle it. And a typical teenage tough guy reaction from Carmelo would have been totally normal. Acceptable on either side? No, but totally normal behavior. What's not normal is carrying a knife around in your backpack at a track meet and then stabbing another kid over something like this. There is something wrong with a kid who does that, and there is no question about it. So then in an interview with Austin Metcalf's father, he asked the question that comes to all of our minds when stuff like this happens.
I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet and he murdered my son by stabbing him in the heart.
We're starting to get an idea of where this behavior may have come from because Carmelo Anthony's parents have had their own things to say. So in this article, it says dad of teen accused of fatally stabbing Texas football star Austin Metcalf says his son was not the aggressor. It says the father of a Texas teen accused of fatally stabbing a football star from a rival school over a seat at the stadium says his son is a good kid who was provoked to violence. Everyone has already made their assumptions about my son, but he's not what they're making him out to be, Andrew Anthony told the Post. Carmelo Anthony, 17, was arrested Wednesday for allegedly killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet, leaving him to die in his twin brother's arms. He's a good kid. He works 2 jobs. He's an A student, has a 3.7 GPA, the heartbroken dad said. The elder Anthony insisted his son didn't instigate the tragic brawl over a seat at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas, where the boys' school had met for a track meet. He was not the aggressor. He was not the one who started it, Anthony said. Though Carmelo has been charged with first-degree murder, Anthony said his son's action was a heat-of-the-moment mistake that has brought tragedy to both families. I feel bad for the other parents and family, and words can't explain how both families have been affected by this tragedy. It absolutely is a valid question to say who started it. Was it the kid who brought a knife to a track meet, went to a tent he wasn't supposed to be in, and stabbed the kid who called him out on it? Or was it the kid who called someone out who wasn't supposed to be there? To me, you are asking for trouble if you bring a weapon with you and then you intentionally go into an area that you know you're not supposed to be in, knowing someone will approach you for doing it. Because if Austin hadn't said something, someone else would have. Would it have been another student? Would it have been a teacher or a coach? Would Carmelo Anthony have pulled a knife on them? In my opinion, he probably would have.
When I was in high school, anytime I would go to a football game, a track meet, baseball game, there would be 2 sides, my side with my school, and then the opposing side. Rarely would I go over to the other side because there was no need. I was supposed to be cheering on my team. If I did go on the other side wearing our jerseys, or let's just say I go to a professional football game and I go to their pit area where they have all this, special fans, and I'm wearing the opposite jersey, I'm clearly there to cause trouble. So why did Carmelo have a knife at a track meet? Why was he on the opposing side sitting in their seats when he is not supposed to be there? Because last time I checked, you only go to the opposite side to harass or mess with the opposite team.
Absolutely. There was no innocent intention there at all. There was no innocent intention behind going to another school's tent, sitting in another school's seat, and bringing a freaking weapon with you. And I appreciate Carmelo's father acknowledging the tragedy that has been brought on both families, but pretending that his son's reaction was equal to the actions of Austin Metcalf is demonstrating that you're not holding your kid accountable. And if you can't hold him accountable for taking an innocent person's life, then chances are you haven't held him accountable in other areas as well. And making excuses for your son's behavior, no matter what, saying he can do no wrong even if he kills someone, is exactly why both the Anthony family and the Metcalf family are facing an unimaginable tragedy today. And you know why else I don't exactly believe what you're saying, Mr. Anthony Sr.? As much as you're trying to tell us that what is being said about your son isn't true and that you're teaching your kid all of the right things and that he's this great kid, they started a GoFundMe to raise money, claiming that this is for their legal defense. But the interesting thing is that they started this GoFundMe with a goal of raising $100,000, but every time it has reached the set goal, they raise the amount to a new goal.
His boy Carmelo Anthony's family is about to do to y'all idiots the same thing that George Floyd, what Black Lives Matter did with George Floyd. Remember how Black Lives Matter raised hundreds of millions of dollars from George Floyd's death, but his community was left in ruins, his family was left in ruins, and they kept all the money, right? Because they have learned that there is money in Black people's stupidity. So they had a goal of $100,000 for his lawyer fees, right? Well, they got the 100,000. Now they moved it up to 200 because you know what they realized? We're gonna get this gravy train. While the money come in, we're gonna get rich off the backs of dumb Black people who are full of hate and racism toward white people.
And this is absolutely true. And this has been fueled by the left with these ridiculous CRT and DEI narratives. The idea is that because Black people were slaves in the early days of America, and it took America a while to establish equal rights for this particular community decades and decades ago, that today it is our job to pay reparations, but not just financially, in every way. They push the idea that based on past restrictions of their freedom through things like slavery and Jim Crow laws, that we have to make up for it now by overcompensating and letting them do whatever they want without accountability. These leftist ideologies have told Black people that they are entitled to bypass the law, that every time they make a poor decision, they can't help it because of past wrongs that were committed against them, and no one can blame them for behaving this way now, that we can't hold them to the same standard as white people because everything they do is just in reaction to how white people treated them in the past. So the reparations that we pay is basically to excuse them for everything, even if they murder someone. So one of the most recent updates to the GoFundMe page for the Anthony family was posted by Matt Walsh. It says thousands of people in the Black community have rallied around Carmelo Anthony and given over $160,000 to his family as a reward for murdering a white kid. And I want to be clear, I understand that this isn't all Black people. I have seen many, many, many videos of Black people, like the one I just showed you, calling out this horrifying situation for exactly what it is and condemning anybody who justifies Carmelo Anthony's actions. This kid was not an innocent bystander just chilling with people. He was there to cause a problem. He had a knife, and this wasn't the first time. Apparently, in the past, he'd had another situation where he was caught carrying a knife and gotten in trouble for it. So I'm sorry, Mr. Anthony Sr., I don't care what your kid's GPA is. He has problems, you have problems, and anybody who defends him is a problem. The lack of accountability is not helping these kids at all. This was like just a few weeks ago when a track runner by the name of Alayla Everett hit another track runner, Kaylin Tucker, on the back of the head and then tried to claim that it was an accident.
I'm just a person by myself. Nobody's going to believe me because I can admit from the video, it does look purposeful, but I know my intentions and I would never hit somebody on purpose.
The girl that she hit ended up with, I believe, a cracked skull and a concussion, but Alayla sat there said that it was an accident, and her parents got behind that narrative.
First video, second video, 10th video, I know 100% that she won't do this to nobody.
Her parents outraged at the backlash.
You guys are not doing your kids any favors by minimizing their poor decisions. If you didn't see this story, this was an incident that took place a couple of days ago. So this gal, the one in the kind of reddish brown shirt, Her name is Brianna Rivers, and she stopped for a street interview with Savannah Craven, who's in the blue dress, and they were having a conversation about abortion. And after several minutes of going back and forth, she decided she'd had enough and walked away like a normal adult. Just kidding. That's not what happened. She literally punched Savannah in the face.
You went from saying that my outfit was really cute to saying I'm an effing idiot. That's so mean.
But I think that your point of view is very obstructed, and I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child.
Yeah, well, I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused.
That's not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really.
After that, Brianna took to social media to say that if Savannah hadn't said words that she didn't like, she wouldn't have attacked her. This is a post on Facebook. It says, "To Savannah, I sincerely apologize, but I cannot sit around and allow you to continue pushing this one-sided narrative. I understand hands being put on someone is never the answer, but throwing rocks and hiding hands is worse. She knows the truth and she needs to release the footage in its entirety. Savannah is a professional antagonist, not a reporter, and the truth will be told." Oh, and she started a GoFundMe as well. By the way, that was Savannah's face after the incident, and she did have to get stitches in her eyebrow. So this brings me back to this whole DEI and CRT thing, because if you haven't figured it out by now, this is not about teaching the uncomfortable parts of American history that apparently white people supposedly want to hide and we are too embarrassed to talk about. It's not about making sure that we hear stories about significant Black figures in our nation's past. This is about fueling further division in our country and fueling animosity, hostility, and violence, for one, and that is completely undeniable. The proof is in the pudding. Secondly, it is another Democrat agenda to keep Black people down. They have never gotten over the fact that their slaves were freed, so they have worked relentlessly since then to keep Black people from succeeding in this country, breaking up Black homes, incentivizing single motherhood, taking Black fathers out of the home, and fueling gang culture through the entertainment industry. And what CRT and DEI ideas do, as I said before, is lower the standard to where there is no standard that's expected at all, so that they don't have to keep Black people down, but that so Black people will keep themselves down. Lowering test scores isn't meant to help more Black people get into college. It's to keep y'all from being as successful as white people. If white people have to do more and work harder, then they'll have a higher level of knowledge and experience than those who have been given a pass for only having to do half as much. If Black people get a pass for breaking the law, then you'll have a higher number of people in this community who indulge in criminal behavior and live this kind of lifestyle, because why not? And if you can get rich off of your crimes, you're incentivized to commit more of them, and that's even better. As I said, I am well aware that this isn't all Black people, but far too many people are accepting this garbage, and it shows. And for the record, I'm well aware that white people, we have our own problems. We have white liberal women who are by far behind some of the biggest failings and the greatest moral downfalls in our nation's history. And I talk about that stuff all the time. But today, I'm addressing the harm that is being done to our country by pushing these egregious ideas on other communities in our country that have nothing to do with love, with tolerance, acceptance, or creating a better future. There is no way to dispute that DEI and CRT and leftist ideas are devastating and dangerous, and the results of how people behave as these ideas have spread further and wider proves that beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Story going all across social media. Here's this innocent Black woman who's an American citizen, who votes for the right, who's pro-life. She does her street interviews and she asks a fellow Black American about why they're pro-choice and why she is pro-life. And you know what happened? The pro-choice Black American punched her, beat her, attacked her, assaulted her. Her face is scratched up and bloody, all because of her beliefs. Y'all told me I should worry about the triple K. No, I'm worried about the triple L. These leftist, liberal lunatics, they're out here on a rampage terrorizing innocent American citizens. If you're driving a Tesla, they terrorizing you. If you're pro-life, they terrorizing you. If you voted for the right, they're terrorizing you. And y'all told me all the hatred comes from the conservative side. Oh, well, if you join the Republicans, they hate Black people. Well, what about this woman who simply was attacked because of her beliefs. You have to show me how that makes sense.
And I understand that Austin Metcalf was not attacked for his beliefs, but I think that that whole incident was just another result of the things that our kids are learning by what they hear on social media, what their parents are teaching them. And clearly, if your parent feels that they can earn money off of a tragedy, then those are the ideas and the values that are being instilled in the children that they are raising. But I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Again, please be sure to hit the like button. Click on my face in the left-hand corner of the video. That will get you subscribed. Other than that, keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.